Hey everyone. So I did this workshop yesterday on improving adoption engagement, and it was great, and it was so awesome, and I forgot to record it. So I'm doing this again. So we're gonna walk through ways that you can improve adoption and engagement with Guru, maybe a slightly abridged version if you were in the actual workshop yesterday. But here we go. Let's get into the agenda. So we'll talk through. We're not going to do a poll, obviously. There's no one here. It's just me. But we're going to talk through how you can find the faults, sort of ways to identify the problems where you might be experiencing trouble getting adoption or getting people to engage with Guru consistently. And then what are the sort of necessary foundational elements that you need to have in order to have success with Guru? What are the features that can help you drive engagement? And what are sort of the change management sort of strategies? What are the follow through sort of mechanisms that you can use to get that adoption engagement up? And then we won't be doing step six, obviously, where it was a group discussion. So, all right, let's jump into this pie chart. This basically just demonstrates the three sort of challenges that Guru solves for. Regardless of what company you're at, you're always going to need to be able to find the information that you need to do your job. Your experts and managers and SMEs are going to need a way to be able to document that information, be able to keep it up to date, and everybody, not everybody, but leaders especially and managers need to be able to share information. So this can be helpful in this context of an adoption and engagement workshop, especially because this may help you sort of conceptualize the three challenges that Guru solves for so that you can maybe pinpoint areas where you maybe aren't taking full advantage of Guru's capabilities. Maybe you've been focused more on the, find and document areas of Guru, but you haven't taken advantage of all the ways that you can, share out information with Guru, like pages and announcements, so on and so forth. So this may be helpful, sort of visual conceptualization for you to understand potential areas that you could use Guru more that could help you drive adoption and engagement. All right, so let's talk about ways you can find the faults or identify the problems that are leading to decreased engagement or adoption of Guru. And I think this chart that lays out the success factors for change management can be really, really helpful in that regard. So in order to have successful change management strategy, you need to have all five of these elements in place. And so you need a success plan, you need a vision, right? What are we working towards? What does success actually look like so that you can measure yourself against something? You need the knowledge and skills to be able to carry out this change management strategy. You need the be able to motivate and incentivize people to actually do the change. You need the resources to support that change, and you need the time to be able to execute that change. And if you don't have any one of those elements, you can sort of see the negative consequences that will end up happening if you don't have all of those different elements. And so I think using this chart can help you all sort of identify maybe where those fault lines are, where your problems might be. Maybe you don't have a good incentivization. Maybe people don't understand the urgency. Maybe you haven't taken enough time to have that conversation around bandwidth and capacity. And so you need to work around ways to make sure that your authors have enough time to document the information that they need, or your verifiers have enough time to verify the information that they need to be verifying, and so on. So, evaluate that pie chart, or not pie chart, but that chart, and see if that can sort of help you pinpoint areas that you have maybe need, or that you maybe need to improve on in order to get people to adopt and engage with Guru more. Um, and so you need to identify, additionally, once you've kind of gotten that high level understanding of maybe where the change management strategy may be faltered in terms of getting people to adopt Guru. Once you've sort of identified that, you also need to identify like who exactly isn't adopting this. What specific teams or groups of people or individual users aren't using Guru. How long have they not been using Guru as much as they should? And does that correlate to, maybe a busy season or a product launch or a company event or something something like that, that maybe, took away large chunks of their time. And then maybe that's accounts for some of the reasons that they weren't engaging with Guru as much as they should. And then maybe it got lost in the cracks. And so maybe it is you just need to raise more awareness to these folks and get them re-engaged. And it might be less of a uphill battle than you thought. Um, and then, but importantly, you need to understand why they're not using it, right? And so that's probably going to involve a lot of conversations with those folks. Surveys are really great to send out to understand why people aren't going to Guru. Maybe they're stuck in those old tools, or they've saved too much stuff to their own hard drives, which is always a nightmare for a lot of teams. And so unearthing these reasons that people aren't moving to Guru the ways that you think that they should be is really important so that you can address those actions in a prescriptive way. And identifying what needs to change. And so when you understand why they haven't been using it, that'll make it really easy for you to identify, okay, what do I need to do to bring them into the Guru fold, right? So ask a lot of questions, send a lot of surveys, really put on your detective hat and get to the bottom of things there. Once you've sort of identified where those kind of fault lines are, where things have maybe gone a little bit wrong, create a plan of action, right? So go back to this sort of success factors for change management chart and use this to sort of put together a sort of plan of action. So think to yourself, what are the sort of goals that you have, and how will you know that you succeed? That's the success plan and vision kind of part. What are the knowledge and skills that are necessary for this? So, what information maybe needs to be brought into Guru? Who needs to be able to help, support this change? How are we going to ensure that people are motivated to change? Like, where's the urgency? How can we ensure that change is lasting? Like, who are our points of contact? Who are maybe the collection champions, or the sort of team leads that are going to sort of spearhead things and make sure that things information on that team's within that team's collection or within those team sources are going to stay fresh and up to date, and are going to help continue to call people to go to Guru. Not just in a rollout phase, or in a re-rollout kind of phase, but ongoing. Who's going to be really sort of point of contact for a lot of teams in terms of helping to keep content healthy and up to date. And then how do we address bandwidth concerns, right? So carving out time on people's calendars, creating, verification power hours, creating times in the month, the day, the week where people are specifically, understood to complete knowledge work that they need to complete, whether that's verification, whether that's creating cards, closing knowledge gaps, whatever your specific problems may be. Address how and when they're going to be able to address that in their amongst their all their day-to-day sort of responsibilities. Where are you going to let them and encourage them to find the time to do that sort of knowledge work? And this plan of action template here may be helpful as well. This will be in the email that you receive this recording with as well. And so will this deck, and the link to this card is obviously in the deck as well. But this should be a helpful resource in terms of creating that sort of plan of action there. All right, so we want to talk about building the foundation. So no matter what sort of struggle you're having, whether you're approaching rollout, whether you've just rolled out, or whether you've had Guru for a long time and maybe need to put together some sort of re-engagement strategy, you need to have a couple elements in place that are really the foundations for success for creating high adoption and high engagement with Guru over long periods of time. So most importantly, 80% good content. Basically, most of your content that's in Guru or connected to Guru needs to be trustworthy, it needs to be verified, up to date. It needs to be content that people are actually going to want to use and that's going to actually serve them, not just a bunch of, out of date old documents. Maybe you've connected to a Drive instance that's been existed in your company for over a decade, and there's just lots of, garbage in there, frankly, that's not going to help the team. That needs to be cleaned up. Otherwise, they're just not going to view Guru as a source of truth, a place to go where they can find information that's going to help them. Because if they're only getting information that's really out of date, obviously that's not going to encourage them to keep coming back into gurus. That's, the number one most important foundational element is just having good content that people actually need in there, and sort of, think like Field of Dreams. If you build it, they will come, right? Like if you have the good information in there, it's easy to find, with good titles, robust content that you've made it easy to read using, things like collapsible sections for longer cards, using bullet points and short paragraphs, short sentences, doing all that work to make your content not only verified and up to date, but also easy to consume. That's the biggest thing you can do to really help yourself in terms of getting engagement and adoption with Guru. Just making sure that really good content is in there. If it's in there, people keep coming back because the value of Guru will be intrinsic at that point. It'll be, self-evident. Um, and you want to be able to, the other foundational element is having users that know how to use Guru, right? They know how to search. They have the extension installed so that they can use Guru in their workflow. So they're not context switching as much as they might need to with other tools. They know, good ways to ask questions inside of Guru. Ideally, they probably have their Slack and team notifications set up for the best sort of notification experience, as a lot of notifications can often get lost in the email inboxes. So having your users set up their notifications in there will help keep Guru sort of top of mind. Another big element to have effectively trained users that can be overlooked sometimes is telling users what to do when they can't find an answer to their question. So, what is that sort of knowledge request strategy? Check out our maintaining content health workshop that we had a couple weeks ago to hear from teams like Travel Perk and Lemonade, and Momentum Life Sciences, about how they keep their content up to date, their knowledge request strategies that involve a lot of cool automations with like Slack, and these are gigantic teams with really amazing trust scores and really high adoption strategies. So if they can do it, pretty much anybody can, I think. But I think addressing that, what to do when they can't find an answer element, is a really important element to have in place in order for Guru to be successful, so that people don't just end up just going to Slack all the time and just asking the questions, and that you have a sort of system in place to close those knowledge gaps so that you're consistently keeping Guru refresh and relevant with all the information that people actually need and have questions about and are looking for. And then also, if you need to train your users, check out our Getting Started Hub on our Help Center. Just launched, I think, last week. Jasmine, who runs our implementations team, put it together, and it's awesome. Lots of great short videos, even little quizzes, and really great content to get started as an admin, author, or sort of read-only kind of user. So check out those tutorials there. Another big foundational element to have is buy-in. This is really, really critical piece to long-lasting adoption engagement with Guru, especially in periods of high turnover, and when your organization is maybe changing a lot. To have leadership bought in, to have your SMEs bought in to Guru, for them to understand why knowledge work is important in general, why knowledge management is important in general, and how Guru is going to help drive business efficiencies and employee productivities, and improve the outcomes that the company wants to improve. That's really, really critical. So make sure that you're taking time to address any of those concerns that some of your SMEs or leadership may have around the value of Guru. Really put together a sort of plan around like the addressing the sort of what's in it for me, the WIIFM acronym there. So establishing sort of what's in it for me for each kind of key stakeholder, what they're going to get out of it, why it's going to help them, and often it comes down to just these SMEs getting less repeat questions, getting more time back to do the work that's important to them, because they're not getting bombarded with as many questions and not taking as much time out of their day to answer those questions. And so that's a really common sort of what's in it for me sort of strategy. And then for leadership, really emphasize to them the sort of business outcomes that Guru can sort of help drive. So handle times, improving deal close times for sales teams, greater product awareness across the organization, so that you're hopefully leading to less kind of like processes like, returns or refunds being done incorrectly, going to reduce those sorts of things to help save the company money. Lots of different potential what's in it for me's depending on what your business is, what your teams are that are using Guru, but really focus on those business outcomes when talking to leadership for sure. And then having a knowledge council in place, and a knowledge council can really just be a group of people, a stakeholder from each department that's maybe using Guru that meets, once every other week, maybe once a month, to sort of reinforce or maintain buy-in, but also to just address knowledge work that needs to be done so they can meet regularly to help close knowledge gaps, to help understand where faults in the processes might be, keep an eye on who's adopting and who's not, and take quick actions to address those low adopters and things like that. So we've got tons of great content around the benefits of knowledge councils and stories around knowledge councils in our help center, in our blog, on our website. So check those out. Go to our community. Lots of folks have knowledge councils or have had them at one point or another, and our community can be a great resource for questions they may have around the Knowledge Council as well. Also, just reach out to our tech support team if you want to learn more about it. We have tons of resources we can arm you with internally here as well. So think about those things. And then the last two foundational elements is making Guru part of your onboarding training. So the sooner that new hires start using Guru, the better, because they'll just understand it as the sort of default kind of place to go for the information they need to do their job. If you're using Guru, getting them into Guru sort of day one, then you can use Guru to train them on sort of other tools and other elements of their job. And so Guru kind of becomes the sort of textbook that they can continuously sort of reference on their day-to-day jobs and maybe use LMSs, and that's great. The LMS is kind of like the classroom experience where they kind of go and learn, and then eventually they have to leave school and they got to get on with their job. But Guru is always going to be there for them along the way as a textbook that they can easily sort of reference back to the materials that they maybe learned or received in the LMS. It'll also be in Guru, and so that they can have quick access to it to help them on their job, which, as we know, is where most of the actual learning takes place. 70% of learning takes place on the job. So, and then the other big foundational element here, the last one, is just making knowledge work a part of people's roles and responsibilities. So if you're hiring, adding it into job descriptions. If you're if you already have Guru and want to make this part of people's roles and responsibilities, having that conversation with managers and with leadership around what sort of knowledge work that you want people to be doing, why you think it's valuable, why it should be part of their roles and responsibilities, and how it's going to benefit the entire organization when doing day-to-day things like verifying information or creating cards or commenting on cards, doing these sort of little activities can really bear fruit for the company at large if everybody's contributing to maintaining and creating a healthy knowledge base. That's just going to be the tide that lifts all boats there. So think about ways that you might be able to make sort of knowledge work actually part of people's sort of job requirements and expected responsibilities there, and that will really really go a long way because that'll just reinforce the sort of mental state for those people that like, oh, this isn't just something that I'm doing kind of on the side, maybe in addition to my day-to-day work. No, this is my job. This is part of my work, and this is part of my responsibility. So that can be a really helpful sort of cognitive shift to get people to understand knowledge work as a part of their job and as a part of their function there. So, okay, cool. So we've got the sort of foundational elements that should be in place no matter kind of where you are within your Guru journey. You want to have those foundation elements in place, or as many of them as possible, in order to have the best chance of success. But there's a lot of features in Guru that can help you out along the way. If you don't have those foundational elements, the features are probably only going to get you so far. If you don't have good content in Guru, these features are not going to change the game. But these features can be really, really helpful and have proven to be helpful for a lot of customers in terms of getting people to engage with Guru more when you do have a lot of those foundational elements in place. So let's talk about what those are. Some of them we've already mentioned. The extension being installed, that's a big piece. Being able to use Guru in your workflow, no matter where you're working, being able to quickly get questions answered is huge. So making sure that your users have the extension installed. We now have extension support in Microsoft Edge, as well as Opera and Chrome. So hopefully, if you're using any of those browsers, you can encourage your users to get the extension installed there, or you can work with an IT admin to automatically install the extension on Chrome or something like that. Getting your notifications set up in Slack and Teams, we talked about, really just a better experience. So, really encourage everyone to do that. Also, creating a page that has just sort of helpful resources and need to know information can be really impactful in terms of driving adoption engagement, especially for, something like a new hire. They come in new Guru and then, bam, they don't even need to search for anything. Just sort of all the information that they need to do in their first week of onboarding or the first day of onboarding is all right there for them. They don't even need to search, they don't even need to click around. It's awesome, and it can have a really lasting impact for new hires in terms of thinking of Guru as a tremendous source of truth and help for them. And then for existing users, creating a page so that they come into Guru and it looks a little bit different if you're trying to do sort of a re-rollout or a re-engagement sort of strategy. Building a page that's filled with the sort of greatest sense of information, cards that are important, decks, sheets, information that lives outside of Guru can all be put on a page as well. So getting people to re-engage with Guru can be a challenge, but if they come into Guru and they see that it actually looks very different, and here's all this great information that they didn't even know about. Wow, that's going to be a really helpful sort of paradigm shift for them to have in terms of how they think about Guru. Maybe they were thinking of it as sort of a place where a lot of junk lived before, but now they can just without even needing to search, they can come in, see an awesome page, and get the information that they need. And then a knowledge agent, especially when it's hooked up to automatically answers questions in Slack channels, has been by far and away what I've heard the sort of biggest game changer for lots of customers in terms of getting people to engage with Guru, getting answers to their questions consistently, and establishing Guru as a strong source of truth. So if you have those channels in Slack where people are asking a lot of questions, hook up a knowledge agent to that Slack channel so that it can automatically answer those questions. And you can hook up the default Guru search to the Slack channel, but I really recommend creating your own sort of knowledge agent for each Slack channel. Often, these channels are broken down by department or sort of need, and so you can create an agent that's tailored to serve that department or that need, and is only going to look at the specific sources that people might be asking about, like for a help IT kind of channel, right? For example, you just want to hook up the for a help IT channel, you just only need an agent to be able to look at, IT related resources. So they don't need to search across everything that's in Guru necessarily. They just need to look in the IT collection and maybe some folders in Drive or something like that, and maybe the Slack channel itself, so that the agent can more quickly answer questions and give better responses and give responses the way you want it to. So you can edit the prompt so that it's responding in the kind of tone of voice or in the format that you want it to respond in. And all those sort of elements will help to just increase the likelihood that you get really good answers that are consistent in the way you want them to be with those knowledge agents. So really recommend if you're having engagement problems, just having Guru automatically sort of be the first line of defense when it comes to answering internal questions and hooking up that agent to those Slack channels there. Announcements also a huge part of getting engagement with Guru, because if you're using announcements, the reason announcements exist is so that you can communicate important, urgent information that people need to read in a sort of timely manner. And so, if you're using announcements in that kind of way, then people should be looking at those announcements as soon as they get them, or really soon after they get them, right? And if you're putting that information that they really need to know, that's really mission critical for their jobs, and that's the only place that they can get that information, then Guru is something that they need to go to consume that information. And the more you're using it for those kinds of purposes, the more it reinforces Guru in their minds as a tool that has important information that they need to consume. So with announcements, make sure that, especially if you're just starting to use them, or trying to get more trust in them, just sending out an announcement from Guru is great, but the more you can sort of raise awareness of it by cross-posting it in other Slack channels, and team channels, and things like that. It's really going to help just raise awareness of it. You can communicate extra context around the announcement in those channels as well. And you can use the announcement notes to communicate a lot of context there too. So when you're using the announcement notes, put in things like why they need to look at this information, when they need to look at the information by, if there's action items or takeaways that they need to be aware of. You can put those in the notes as well, and as well as any deadlines there. And then you can also send reminders. So in your task screen inside of Guru, you can go to your sent announcements and you can send reminders to folks that haven't read it there. So you're continually kind of tapping them to get them engaged with those announcements. Wherever you can integrate Guru into their actual workflows is also going to be huge. So if you're savvy, you can use things like our API endpoints and our webhooks to bring Guru into your existing tool stack. But if you're less savvy, you can use tools like Zapier, which still require a level of savviness for sure, or Workato. We have integrations with both of those iPaaS tools, so you can really connect Guru to your existing tool stack and create different sort of custom automations and really bring Guru into the workflows in new sort of customized ways that are going to just increase the sort of touch points or available touch points of Guru in their workflows. So look into those, right into our tech support team if you have questions around capabilities there. Our developer site is also a really helpful resource on that front as well if you want to dig into the API and webhooks especially. And then just make sure that your relevant sources are hooked up and permissioned correctly, right? So make sure if you've connected a lot of sources to Guru, make sure that only the right people have access to those right sources. We don't want probably everybody to have access to all resources necessarily because that may crowd up their search results. So just make sure that you're limiting the search results to only the best and relevant information through the permission structure. So giving people access to only the sources that they need, so that they don't have a subpar search experience that's crowded up with a bunch of information that's not relevant to them from sources that they don't care about, right? Cool. So those are the features that can help you out. And then here's some change management strategies to allow you to execute on that follow through. So build that foundation, raise awareness of those features, leverage those features, and then here are some strategies for change management to execute on that follow through. So sort of going back to kind of cross-posting around the announcements, in general, raising awareness wherever possible about Guru and the information inside of it, especially like new and good information that they need to be aware of through announcements or through posting cards and Slack channels that are being created. Anytime you can do that sort of cross-posting in comms channels early on is especially helpful. In your team meetings, discuss knowledge work goals. So like, is your trust score slipping? Who has cards to verify? Are there new cards that need to be created ahead of a certain event or a product release or something like that? You can raise those sort of action items that need to be touched on in your team meetings, in your daily stand-ups, your monthly meetings, whatever it may be. You can also in these meetings call out achievers and achievements, like so people who are creating really good cards, people who are the top verifiers. And then, achievements may be something like your trust score hitting 100%, or established a new collection, or you established a new folder, or you've created new cards or pages or agents or things like that. So these are all the team meeting is a great place for you to continue to raise awareness around Guru and all the value that they can get inside of Guru by touching on those topics there. And if you still have questions coming in through your Slack channels, obviously consider hooking up the knowledge agent, like I was saying before, to deflect those questions automatically. But if that's not really maybe an option for you, maybe you're in Teams or it doesn't make sense to hook up the knowledge agent to that Slack channel. Do what you can to continuously remind users to check Guru first. Lots of teams have created like emojis that signal like for the requester of information that like, oh, I did check Guru first, so I'll put this emoji in there so that they at least know that I checked Guru before asking this question in Slack. So that can be helpful. And then for folks that don't use that emoji and are asking that question, that the answer lives in Guru. you can come up with an emoji that tells them to kind of check Guru, or you can use sort of GIFs, like we have linked here. That'll be in the follow-up email here. That will kind of politely sort of passive aggressively, maybe even kind of shame them into taking the action of checking Guru first before asking questions in Slack. So you can have a little fun with it in terms of encouraging users to check Guru, but whenever they're asking a question and you know or suspect that that question may be able to be answered by Guru, before you even answer that question for them, tell them to check Guru first, and then if they can't find the answer, then have that conversation in your comms channels. But do those little sort of mini actions, and the more you do it, and the more other people and your team sort of helps out, it'll just become part of the culture really quickly to make sure that your people know to check Guru first before coming into the Slack channel, or otherwise they might get a little shamed. So that can be helpful motivation there. Other sort of follow through strategies, making desired Guru actions part of employee reviews. So this kind of goes back to one of the foundational elements in terms of making a part of their roles and responsibilities. Same sort of concept here, right? But this is a really effective sort of long-term strategy of making Guru sort of part of their roles and responsibilities and and incorporating it into sort of employee reviews. And so if you are going to do that, I just have a couple tips for you. Put goals on outcomes. So like your team's KPIs should still probably be continue to be the goals. Like if you're on a support team, you want to drive down handle times or increase CSAT scores. If you're on a sales team, you want to, increase win rates and drive down deal times, something like that. Those should still be your goals, right? But you want to track the activities within Guru that maybe correlate to some of those goals. So you can look at the activities of Guru activities of sort of like your high performers. Maybe somebody on the support team has really great handle times and is really has great, time to first response and are closing cases with those first responses really quickly. So they're hitting all their goals. They're doing really, really great. And you can see that within their Guru activities, maybe they have really high view counts of certain cards, or they've really been good at reading the announcements, and you can sort of compare that to maybe lower performing folks and see like, okay, their handle times are a little bit worse here, and it looks like they're actually not viewing the cards that some of the top viewers or some of the top performers view, or they're not reading announcements as much as they should. And so you can have that one-on-one conversation, that sort of coaching conversation with those maybe lower performing folks around recommending sort of actions for them to take. But I wouldn't recommend sort of putting goals on those activities. Like we never want to say that like, oh, you have to be viewing, X amount of cards in a certain time, or you have to be creating a certain amount of cards or updating a certain amount of cards. Those would probably just be arbitrary. They should, however, be reading announcements if you want them to be reading announcements. That's maybe something to put a goal on. Reading 100% of the announcements that are sent, that's probably good actually. But those other activities you just want to track and not put arbitrary goals on them. That'll just cause them to just game the system. Probably they'll just open up cards and it's not going to necessarily drive value for them or for your business by putting goals on those activities. But you can use the activities through tracking them to understand the broader picture around how people are engaging with Guru and what is valuable in Guru and what they should be using to perform better at their jobs. And gamification, that's always really a fun sort of change management strategy. So had lots of customers do rollouts that incorporated sort of scavenger hunts and kind of like golden ticket, Willy Wonka sort of things where we're hiding, an image inside of cards that they should be reading, or hiding a little Easter egg somewhere in a card, and people need to find those little Easter eggs and send them to the person who's running the game in order to get a prize or something like that. Or you can sort of incentivize some of those basic activities early on. I wouldn't advise doing it long term, where we're rewarding people for creating the most cards or updating or verifying the most cards. But if you want to get engagement up quickly and get people used to doing these kind of actions inside of Guru, it can definitely be beneficial to consider, those sort of basic incentivizations for those kinds of activities for, maybe the first couple weeks or first few months. Um, but not something that you want to do long term, as ultimately you just want people to be updating cards as they need to, creating cards as they need to, and verifying cards as they need to, and not necessarily doing them just to win a prize. They should, over time, just it becomes part of their job, and they understand the innate value of doing those activities. Same kind of concept with rewards, awards, shout outs. So, I've had customers do like award shows or like award ceremonies where they kind of do like a mock kind of like Oscars ceremony and such. It's kind of like another sort of fun idea there. And then what's really important, it goes back to kind of having 80% of your content be good content within Guru is closing the knowledge gaps. And so that's really a big part because knowledge is never stagnant. You're never done with the knowledge base. It's always going to be changing and evolving. And so a big part of that change is making sure that you are closing knowledge gaps, that you're getting knowledge into your knowledge base that people are asking for and not able to find, and incorporating that information that people need. Ways to do that with Guru is like, looking at the unanswered and flagged questions in the AI training center, and also, looking at searches producing no results in the analytics dashboards, so that you can see what people are looking for and not finding, what people are asking and getting incorrect answers about or not getting answers at all about. So focus on those areas so that you're making sure that the information that people actually need and are looking for are in Guru and easy to find. All right, there's no one here to share out, and so that is gonna wrap up this session today. Sorry, I didn't get the actual live recording of this, but in its absence, I hope this was beneficial and helpful for you all. Thank you all so much for watching. Take care.